Bill Parcells, years ago, there's a kind of a legendary story. Chris Sims is on top of the hour, but there's a legendary story about Bill Parcells with Phil Sims, and that he would dog him at practice and go, oh, you went 10 for 12 today at practice. Congratulations. You may want to throw the ball down the field. And Parcells wanted Phil Sims to be more aggressive. And Bill said, you want to win in this league, you can't do it on 14-play drives. You got to throw the ball over the top. I think I know what Sam Darnold's going to look like this year. I think he's going to have 21 picks, 6 fumbles, and be hella exciting, and have a little Favre and a little luck, and I'm totally okay with that, right?
Did you say hella exciting?
Yeah.
Would you spend some time in Northern California where they say hella in every other sentence? Is that what you did?
Well, Canada, hella.
Hoser. The thing about interceptions, and I heard your opening rant coming in. By the way, Joy, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Missed you the last couple of days, but glad you got a long weekend. The thing about interceptions is this. Obviously, there's no greater determinant to who wins and who loses in any sport
than turnovers.
Than turnovers.
Right.
But quarterbacks will use this cliche, but it is in fact true. Every turnover, every interception has a story in and of itself.
Right.
Right. And what I found to be most interesting in Sam Darnold, and I do think that he is ready-ish, ready as he could be.
That's exactly what I think.
Is that when he was asked after the game about how he played, he didn't actually mention the interception.
Yeah.
Because that's not that big a deal. What was a bigger deal was he took a sack in the red zone.
Yeah.
You can't take sacks in red zones. You can't throw interceptions in red zones. Remember, Matt Ryan, the year before the MVP season, had a run of interceptions in the red zone. That was a big problem. Can't have those.
Right.
My issue with starting Sam Darnold actually has nothing to do with Sam Darnold. It's his offensive line.
It's awful.
Awful.
It's awful.
And he doesn't have a particularly good running game. Some of that is the offensive line. Some of that is, I dare you to name 2 names in that offensive backfield. He doesn't have a tight end who's a safety weapon.
Yeah.
I think his wide receivers are okay. And I understand that being able to call out the protections, being able to keep your eyes downfield, processing all this information as everything's going on around you, he's doing it at a better clip than many expected. You and I are old enough to have been doing this when David Carr was a disaster because he was under duress in Houston. And I worry. I also realize, hey, Teddy Bridgewater is the talk of front offices in the National Football League.
Yeah.
Because he was a starter. And if his knee's sound, he looks like he could be a starter again.
Yeah.
Do you sit Teddy Bridgewater and just gloss over him and let him sit there, keep him, and then trade him for a second or third? Or do you roll the dice, play him, and then maybe somebody else's quarterback goes down and you trade him for a first-round pick?
I sat with an NFL assistant coach Friday, had a beer with him, and I said, what could you get for Teddy Bridgewater? And this is a very smart guy, and he said, starting right tackle and a draft pick. And if I'm the Jets and I can get a starting right tackle and a third-round pick, that's another offensive line, you're on your way.
Right, so that's my kind of working philosophy is like, look, if Sam Darnold is as good as you and I think he is, and the Jets think he is, and most people in the NFL, he's going to be there for 10 years.
Right.
So do you play him right away? Do you not? I think they're going to play him right away. It doesn't matter.
Right.
But my fear is you play him right away, you run the risk of him getting hurt, and you could promote Teddy Bridgewater at some point, start Josh McCown, play Teddy Bridgewater in those first 3 games, and then maybe get a first-round pick, probably get a second-round pick or a third-round pick and a player for him. That's a Jets team that just doesn't have enough overall talent to ever live up to what Sam Darnold has, and they're building for next year. Remember, they have $90 million or more in cap space in the coming year. They're setting themselves up for the future. Don't hurt the future by rushing Sam Darnold right now.
By the way, there are certain things that are gateways to success. Since Ronald Reagan, 12 of the 20, I forget what it is, if you go back a certain time, 12 of the last, not since Reagan, 12 of the last 20 presidents have gone to Ivy League, Duke, or Stanford. If you're 18 years old and have political ambitions, and you're really smart, Ivy League, Stanford, Duke, it's a pretty good path. You can go to El Camino JC, you can go to Panera State College, you can go to Eastern Washington University, you can go to Fullerton State. Richard Nixon went to Whittier. Back in the time, used to be military got you. But if you start looking at schools attended by presidents, the last 5 presidents, Yale, Harvard, Penn. Okay, it's pretty good, right? There's something in the NFC. When it comes to the AFC, NFC North, of their 11 Super Bowls, Bradshaw, huge arm. Big Ben, huge arm. Favre, huge arm. Flacco, huge arm. Aaron Rodgers, huge arm. And by the way, Dilfer and McMahon won in that division. North, they were thick guys, not great arms, but big, thick guys. When I watch Baker, I see Colt McCoy. I see a better Colt McCoy. I see Cody Kessler. My takeaway is if you look at the Northern Division of football, like the Ivy League for presidents, shouldn't they just have drafted Josh Allen? The kid's 6'5", 240 and's got an arm.
He does, and you're right, and it's because not only does Cleveland play outdoors, but so does Cincinnati, so does Pittsburgh, so does Baltimore, okay? And it is a factor. I mean, one of the reasons Drew Brees has been as good as he has been in New Orleans is he plays indoors for 8 games a year. Make it
Atlanta.
9, counting Atlanta.
Yeah.
Okay, and then, of course, look, you still got Tampa, which isn't indoors, but at least it's warm. Remember Peyton Manning, who had troubles, never threw a great spiral, never had a great arm, Indy in a dome, and then, of course, went to Denver, where your ball gets some extra bounce because you're playing in altitude. So there is something to the big-armed guy. And, frankly, Cleveland had an opportunity there to redshirt Josh Allen. Because if you ask NFL people, they'll say, look, we think Josh Allen could be a player, but the hit rate's going to be higher the more he sits and learns.
That's what I've been told.
They had Tyrod Taylor there. By the way, since you've been gone, we've changed the pronunciation from Tyrod to Tyrod. That happened 1 week when you're in Canada. Okay, that's the thing.
By the way, they could have had Josh Allen at 4.
Yes.
They could have had him at 4.
Yes,
they could have traded the 1.
But here's what they ran into, okay? Because they had passed on a quarterback at 1 overall the previous year.
Carson Wentz.
That they felt compelled to go, and then they picked the wrong guy. I would have taken Sam Darnold. But yes, Josh Allen would have been a better fit. The one thing that Baker does fit is Baker has this, I've been told no, right? I've been told no. I get more out of myself than anyone ever could. He is a former 2-time walk-on.
Yes.
And he does fit the everyone still laughing and snickering at Cleveland.
Yes.
Right. And so he does fit the mentality of the culture that they want to build.
Yes.
So that part I get.
Yes.
And he does wow you. And he does have a microprocessor
And he's
up
accurate.
there.
He throws good football.
And he does have a super high IQ football brain. But he's not Russell Wilson athletically nor arm strength wise. And I think that's what they're reaching for.
By the way, let me just say this. It's football season, but Daryl Morey's a smart guy. He's like, analytically, LeBron's better than Michael Jordan. Why do you have a problem with that?
He didn't say analytically. He went with win shares. Do you know how they calculate win shares? First of all, your age actually plays a factor, which is ironic because they don't take the factor in the age of the competition you're playing against. It also is basically a statistical formula. It does form wins and losses, but there's a lot in terms of your stats. My problem is that, look, if you want to take analytics, isn't PER, isn't player efficiency rating, an incredibly important, maybe the most important stat?
Even that,
So you're suspect of that analytics, but not win shares? Because if you take PER, Jordan has the greatest PER.
Yeah, LeBron's second.
LeBron is second. You know who's third? Shaq is actually third. Wilt Chamberlain is fourth, I believe. So, again, analytics have a value there.
Yes.
Okay, but so does 6 titles. And then he gave away a year and a half in his prime.
How about my theory on this, though? That Jordan would still be great. That he's relentless.
Yes.
He would be, there's a lot of Westbrook in him, where if he was playing today with Twitter and you could react to every shot, you'd be like, hey, dude, you can't shoot threes, stop. Hey, Michael, you have teammates pass. With Michael, it ended well, so it was great. But we do live, Obama was the first president to, on a daily basis, get the vile. Now, Trump sees it every day, some of it self-induced, but Twitter would have been rough. By the way,
hold on. First of all, let's.
And he couldn't shoot a 3.
Well, he actually did evolve into becoming a very good jump shooter.
Shooter.
Second of all, and 3-point shooter statistically. Okay. Second of all, the idea that he couldn't shoot a 3. You have Al Horford is a good 3-point shooter now as a center. Right. It's Steph Curry told me this once. One of the reasons that guys shoot threes so much more fluidly now and so much easier is he's never stepped on a basketball floor that didn't have a 3-point line. Right? That wasn't the case for Michael Jordan.
Right.
But if you don't think that Michael Jordan, who led the league in scoring 10 straight years, when you could bully people, when there's 2 guys in the lane, he couldn't shoot early in his career, but there was a power forward in the center in the lane, guys that aren't there now. That he led the league in scoring 10 straight years, he wouldn't evolve into a better 3-point shooter. And yet centers nowadays can evolve into 3-point shooters. Come on, you're kidding yourselves. Of course he could have evolved with the times. But think about it. Led the league in scoring 10 straight years.
30 seconds.
And you could handshake. that he couldn't hand check.
But by the way, the hand-checking thing works both ways. He was also called a great defensive player. He couldn't stay in front of anybody now.
No doubt.
I mean, nobody can
LeBron's
stay in
help
front
of the fact he can play bully ball.
Yes.
Look, it's like quarterbacks. The stats are greater. Points, rebounds, assists, because there's greater pace of play, more three-point shots, less people in the lane. I think Jordan would have been fine. I prefer Jordan to LeBron.
Good stuff. His name is Doug Gottlieb. A joy.